ladies and gentlemen, saints and ain'ts. Welcome to Track Talk, a part of the Lactic Acid Podcast Network. I'm your host, Dominique Smith. As you hear, we are just getting started talking about some fun topics that we are going to relay to you this evening. The two gentlemen joining me need no introductions. They are legends in the coaching game, doing big things, probably teach technique or better than some professional coaches. Mr. Brett Shields at the bottom of the screen, and on the top left, Mr. Robert Lewis, Coach Robert Lewis, Coach Brett Shields. Gentlemen, how you guys doing? How was your Thanksgiving? How did everything go for you?
Go ahead, Brett.
No, it was wonderful, man. You know, got to spend time with family, got to see my kids, and you know, it's hard. It's interesting to call them kids now. They both, you know, in their 20s and entering mid-20s.
Young adults.
Yeah, young adults. So, you know, even though they're still in the pocket, but, you know, young adults.
I was going to say, all that means is just bills.
He loves to say they in the pocket. That's his favorite thing to say. They in the pocket. They in the pocket.
I mean, it's the truth. I mean, listen, stay in the pocket as long as you can, because when you leave, it gets real out here.
That's right. It does. Absolutely.
Oh, man. So, listen, we just not going to cut through confills. We're just going to get to it. This episode was supposed to be just about different things that we can do, things that we see about growing the sport. And then, in a surprising twist, and I say it's surprising because I am shocked that they released this before the meeting on Friday, which is when this episode will be released. The head honcho of USA Track and Field, it was released that he made $3.8 million, so almost $4 million. And over a multi-year span, I believe that dates back, but it was somewhere between 2014 and 2016. I don't have the sheet in front of me. In total, he's made over $15 million.
Yes.
Running USA Track and Field. And I say running with quotes, and we're going to get to that in a second. As you can imagine, this sparked much outrage on social media, on different shows, and we're here to talk about it all. And so before we got on, and I wanted to kick this off, and Coach Robbie made this great point. Everybody is guns blazing at Max Siegel. But somebody had to sign the check. And what I find the most interesting is I read the statement from the board who signs the check, approves it all. They said that we were a few things that stood out, and I'm paraphrasing. We were comfortable giving him this money, and we think he's done a great job in helping to elevate the sport, so to speak. So, to me, that says he did what we told him to do. Okay. We're giving him this money because not only did he do it, he's the sacrificial lamb, essentially. So because everybody's it's him. Listen, he's doing what he's told to do, because Max Siegel don't run the sport. He does not run the sport. There is a group of people who are his bosses that has just as much of a say-so as anybody. And I think there's just so much anger because you have people who it's crazy. People who you see on NBC and all of the channels, the very few channels, rather, that, you know, put on track and field meets, some of your favorite athletes. You'll never know that you make more than they do. That's just the sad reality. They may go places, but, you know, they're working 2 jobs, 3 jobs.
3 jobs.
Some are on the poverty line. People who make the finals of the Olympic Games or the World Championships are on the poverty line, or you know, just doing things to make ends meet. You have, you know, women who do not get the financial support when they have babies. That whole scandal where, you know, Nike was concerned, and Allison Felix. There's so much but you're pocketing 3.8 million, over 16 million, almost 16 million in a less than a 10-year span. So, gentlemen, I want to start with you, whoever wants to take the first go for it. What was your reaction and to all the news coming out, and then what does that do for you? What emotions do that spark?
Go ahead, Brett.
No, you got it, man.
Oh. Well, when I saw it, I just went like this, like, oh no. I just put my head in my hand, because I'm like, this is not good, because the track world is going to say this guy made almost $4 million and others made almost no money. And those who are in track and field understand how, as much as people believe professional track athletes make all this money, that's just not the case. A certain few make really good money. They got those big time contracts sponsored by shoe companies and some others that pay them well. But the majority are not like that. They are people who have 9-to-5 jobs. They train on the side. They have a coach and they do their thing. Some of them do it on their own. They don't even have a coach because they can't afford to pay a high quality coach to do this thing. And they get a small stipend based on their place in the USA rankings and world rankings and things of that nature. So it's not even that they're actually a professional in it. You have to actually earn the little money you get by running meets. So how do you plan your schedule around your 9-to-5 and your training and setting up where you're going to go from a meet and all these other things. So when I said, I just shook my head. I was like, man, this is not going to be good. But then I thought, it's track and field. No one's going to care. I mean, that was the other part. It's like, it's track and field. No one's going to care other than the track world. So it's not going to be a big deal. And it hasn't been on the news anywhere, any of the sports news, because, a regular season basketball game, Lakers losing by 17, blowing a 17-point lead is something that people want to talk about more so than, hey, this guy made $4 million and these guys and these other athletes are talking about they're not making any money. So track and USATF is like, it's not going to bother us because nobody cares. And
no, that's
what it is.
That's the truth about what's on TV, because right now Maryland is whooping Louisville by 30. Louisville's 0-6, Maryland's 6-0, and that's a prime time game. when 30 points. Louisville hasn't even cracked 50. But a topic that's actually affecting people is not
nope.
Even being talked about.
Yeah. Well, so first reaction to it, when I saw it, I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
$3.8 million? Yeah. Seriously? For that crappy product he's putting out? So I mean, it just speaks to, like backdoor dealing almost. And, the fact that, because it's a nonprofit organization, essentially, they have to file tax forms and his salary has to be made public. So I went and looked at it and well, hold on. His base pay is only $685,000.
That's correct.
It was 685?
Yes.
I thought it was six. Wow, I thought it was 650.
685 is his base pay.
Mm-hmm.
But he received a bonus, a $500,000 bonus. Okay, we get bonuses. All right, we understand that. Executives get bonuses and they're big. Sometimes they can be almost match their salaries, right? Mm-hmm. All right, fair enough. But then he had 2.5 million of other compensation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the other is the kicker. Yes.
Other.
Now hold on, Brad. But before you go on though, his contract is no different than any college coach that's out there. They get paid by the university. They get a separate salary, additional compensation through a shoe company or some type of endorsement company or something. So I'm not taking away that he's gotten his other money. it just looks really, really bad.
The optics of it are
Yeah,
horrible.
it looks so bad.
We also know, here's the other thing we know, is that USATF is essentially, a Nike puppet.
It is. Yes.
It is a Nike puppet, right? So whatever Nike says do, that's what they're doing. Or that they want things to go in a certain direction, that's where they go. Because there would almost be no good reason to commit to the University of Oregon and that facility, as fantastic as it is, probably the best in the world, but to commit to that facility, it's a horrible place to have high-level track meets. It is. Now, from a crowd standpoint, perfect, because they love track and field in Oregon, because frankly, there's nothing else to do.
I was just about to say that. So Leslie, you have to give me free trips to Portland every weekend.
Right. So, there are definitely other places in the United States where great facilities could be built, could be done. I mean, California, Los Angeles, Texas, but Oregon,
infrastructure. The biggest thing is the infrastructure.
It's hard to get in and out.
Yeah, you can't.
It's expensive to get in and out.
Yeah,
and the place This place shut down at like 7 o'clock at night during the World Championships.
Yes,
and they said, "We don't care. We're shutting down. We're going home. I don't care who's in town."
It's if you like to hike, so if you're into hiking, you would love. Well, really not in Eugene. You have to go to like Springfield to hike. It is definitely the Wild Duck is a small place, but that's the only thing. It reminds me of Orlando because I actually had Marvin Bracing on the show, and I asked him, "You think are we ready to host the Super Bowl?" And we were going back and forth. I said, "But man, Super Bowl ends at 9 o'clock. Chipotle stuff closes at 10 o'clock." and then like the club, like all the clubs downtown, I don't think they're the Miamis, where they.
That's it, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
2 o'clock. International drive, 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
If you don't have it by 2 o'clock, then you just go hungry, for the rest of the time. So it's interesting. I was just talking about Matt Rule and just kind of how money is funneled. Yep. He gets fired from the Panthers, and you think, oh man, that dude, they owe him like what, $50-60 million. Just signs like a $60 million or $8. I don't even know how much. I know he's getting $9 million over the next 8 years at Nebraska, not including incentives. They win the Big Ten. Okay, we're pushing it. It's so. I wish that that somebody sat down, kind of with the athletes, and said, "Listen, you need to know how USA Track and Field works from the inside out. There needs to be more transparency." And I don't want to say it because it's not going to make a difference. Because at the same time, I don't know why they released it before the meetings, but I don't think, to your point, Coach Rob, I don't think they care. Like, I just don't think they care.
Because that's not even, isn't that 2019? That's not even all the way up, right? Did I read that wrong?
It's 2021, I think.
It's 2021. So yeah, so that's all the way up to 2021. So prior to the world, so he just finished the World Championship, so he's going to get another bonus.
Yeah,
he's going to get another bonus for everything that's going on since. So yeah,
next year. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. So, and what do you say when you have a World Championship where we set records on how many gold medals we won, and all these other things? They're going to give him a bigger bonus. So as much as we're saying this is bad, when he looks on the track, he's going to say, "Well, you tell me where I went wrong." And,
What
and
do
yeah,
you?
how do you say he did it? I mean,
What?
how do you say he did?
But
Well, I think, it comes back to, what we were discussing, we were talking offline a little, before we got started here was, when you have athletes who are basically almost at the poverty line,
Yeah, no.
and competing at a world-class level, there is absolutely something wrong with that.
Yep.
yeah,
And the person at the top of it is, hey, they're living high on the hog.
Yeah.
They get nearly $4 million.
Yep.
Like, wait a minute. Okay, we get that you organize and structure, these events and everything else, in which case there aren't nearly enough events to begin with. And your television exposure is horrible. So, I get where, on one hand, like Coach Lewis said, tell me where I went wrong. Okay, let me start.
Well,
Your television exposure is horrible. You are being outdone by cornhole.
Yeah. Yes.
you can watch cornhole
Cornhole
reruns.
Cornhole.
Video
They
game
probably pay
championships.
more too. They probably pay more. That's what's scary.
No offense to cornhole, but it's an event. It is not a sport. This is the track and field is the essence of all sports.
That's correct. Yes.
Right. So off of track and field, everything else is created. Right. Because the first thing, nobody said, all right, hey, let's pick up a football. No. And see who's the tougher guy. All right, who can shoot better? Let's pick up basketball. Or let's kick a soccer ball. Who can outdo? No. I can run faster than you. I can run further than you. I can jump higher than you. I can throw this ball or this stick further than you can.
Yep.
Everything
else goes from there.
Elementary school, on field day, that's what we did. Yep.
Exactly. So how in the world could you allow this as the springboard for everything else to be the dog of the group? Because it essentially is. Yeah. And it's such a shame because we have such wonderful athletes. And you even have athletes who give up their native citizenship to compete for the United States. They assume United States citizenship and they compete, Team USA, and okay, yeah, we all cheer and everything, great, but okay, so how's that person actually doing?
Yeah, no.
Or okay, maybe it's not that person. One of them, Ry Benjamin, classic example. He had to become a U.S. citizen, right? So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to put you out there on blast like that, man. Coach Lewis knows how I actually do that sometimes.
When he gets going, Dom, when he gets
going,
I gotta remember that.
You gotta stop and say something.
I gotta stop and say something. Yeah, I'm sorry, Dom. I might have to, do my.
You got a disclaimer for him all the time.
Disclaimer.
The power of editing. That's what we love about it. Oh,
but it's an absolute fact that people want to compete for Team USA. It's the hardest team in the world to make.
Absolutely.
And it's the best team in the world to make.
Yep. And you're always shocked when we lose.
You're always shocked
you're always shocked when you like.
Right.
Let's say loss. Yes.
Right.
That's
every
how
other country.
Years, yes.
Every other country gets to brag and say, hey, we beat USA. Yep. I'm like, yep, you sure did.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. You beat Team USA. And imagine if we had our best athletes running track.
Yeah. No, I agree with you there.
All of our best athletes.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I wrote a story that got released. We're recording this Tuesday, and this will be aired Friday, so it was released today. It's a small business. It's called Bell Lap Track and Field. And so it's run by three brothers. The youngest brother ran for Illinois, ran the 1500, broke 4 minutes, was good enough by professional standards to warrant a professional deal. And so he signed a small contract with a large running shoe company or whatever. I want you guys to guess how much he made in 1 year.
Oh, it was less than $5,000.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah,
It was less
less
than
than 10. I was gonna
$5,000.
say less than 10.
Yeah.
So with the shoe company plus a part-time job, he had a part-time job with whatever he was getting, 12 grand.
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah,
That's with a part-time job.
Doesn't
And so
surprise me.
he looked back and he said, listen, I can't do this. He had to retire. And he and his brothers decided, let's do this. And so Bell Lap Track and Field, what they do is the kid had all this extra gear because, they'll send you shirts and shorts before they send you money. You'll always have something to wear.
They'll send you a box.
Yep.
Yeah.
They'll send you a box weekly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, he had all that stuff. And so they sold it and got money off of it. And so what they did, and it's rare, they go to athletes, whatever extra stuff you got, send it to us, we'll sell it, and we'll send you the money back to help fund, the athletes. They take out the shipping fees, but he just said, listen, we had to do something to help these athletes get income. If you guys are athletes and you're evaluating this and you're reading this and you're looking at the state of the sport, what do you do? What is your next move? Because the one thing that has been said is like, we need the Noah Lyles, we need the Sids, the Athing Mo's, and all these other people to say something. We need them to kind of help out, be the voice for the voiceless, if you will. What do you think the next step for athletes should be in order to really affect change?
Okay, well, you be quiet for a second because that face is giving you away. But now I got to take a step back for you, and I'm not trying to be the contrarian the whole night, but I want to take a step back. When we talk about the athletes, the first thing is there's a whole lot of them. There's a whole lot of them, and some of them, as we say for every other sport, this ain't for you. You're good enough to be at a standard, but are you really good enough to compete at the top of the top? So if a person who breaks 4 minutes in the 1500, but they're not breaking 3:45 in the 1500, should they be getting a stipend and making money? Or should that money be going to the person who's breaking 3:40 and going forward? I mean, I think maybe part of the problem is there's too many athletes. Maybe we need to have a tiered system where you have your cream of the crop. You get this, we got a league, baseball, football, all have G leagues and minor leagues and things of that nature. I mean, sometimes we need to have everybody who wants to be a professional start at a lower league and fund that for them to build themselves up to get to that higher. Doesn't stop them from competing at the national championships. You make the standards, you compete, you go forward. But on running these meets, there's a whole lot of athletes. We watch the meets and we get frustrated. It's like, man, where's, like Paul does all these great American track league meets, but 7 out of 9 athletes, 7 out of 10 athletes, you're going like, yeah, maybe not. Or yeah, this is you're still doing this because you can, but you really don't have much of an opportunity to compete at the highest level.
Right.
So again, what Max is making, I feel like, oh man, this looks bad. But at the same time, if the pool is, we're pulling this between 300 athletes or 3,000 athletes or 7,000 athletes, then it looks even worse, and that may be part of the problem. Brett and I had a conversation with an athlete who went to a meet, and after everything, they made $100. $100 at the meet.
$100.
$100. You know, it was like after all their expenses and everything, at travel and food and everything to get to the meet and to participate in the meet, and after their placing in the meet, I think
Wow.
they came in first or second. They made $100. You know,
$100. That's a
that's
shame.
part of the problem. If
Yeah.
we're going to have meets, we need to have I mean, come on, I mean, these guys who go on a golf tour or tennis tour, and they're know beforehand. Look, if I finish at least 17th, I'm going to make X amount of dollars and that will cover all my expenses. But you go onto a meet and you come in first or second, and then afterwards, here's a check for $100. I mean, what? I mean, what do you do?
That's a slap in the face.
Without your expenses being paid for.
Yes.
Yeah.
What do you say? And I think part of the problem, though, is because we have so many athletes who are professional athletes, professional track athletes, is really difficult. Now, again, the stipend part, I agree. The money is way too low. And the way it came out, the perception is Max made all the money and kept it all for himself. The CEO makes a lot of money, kept it all for themselves, and didn't give it to the athletes. But at the same time, who are the athletes? Like, who are the athletes? Is it Marvin Bracey, or is it the one who just graduated from college and got a meta standard and is on a contract, a small contract, and they're professional and they're running in some of Paul's meets? They may run in a meet close in regional. They may fly across country, but they're not going to Europe because they can't afford it. They just can't afford it. So who's a true professional athlete? I mean, that's part of the problem.
That is the question. What defines a professional track and field athlete?
Yeah. Well, I agree. There's definitely, there needs to be some form, some type of almost a farm system, right?
I agree. Yes.
Like you said,
absolutely.
Baseball has probably the most extensive farm system. They got, triple A down to single A ball.
Yep.
And you can get you could be down there playing, double A ball, making $2 million a year, right?
Yeah.
Because you got sent down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, maybe you started up there, you didn't perform so well. Like, all right, well, you need to develop something. So we're sending you down to the farm system.
You had too many injuries.
Now, and they taking the money away from you.
Yep.
Or you coming back from injury.
Yep.
All right, you got to work back in. All right, let's go down there and hit some of them instead of hitting the the 95-mile fastball. Go down there and hit the 87-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
And then work your way back. Well, for track and field, where would that system exist?
Claremont.
Right? I mean, that's the question. Claremont. I mean, you're right. That's the question. If USATF really wants to do this right, then you have to have a meeting with the athletes and say to the athlete, look, what is it that you want? Do you want to take care of everyone, or do you want to take care of the best? And have people groomed to get better. We got to get. I mean, Christian Taylor tried to start an athletes union, an athletes forum and federation, and got athletes involved, but it was more with the World Athletics and not more with USATF. And it's like, why? And I think part of the reason why is because there's just too much stuff going on. Too many people are involved in USATF to actually even have a voice. I mean, that's part of the problem. When NBC says, I'm going to put your meets on, but I'm only going to give you an hour, when NBC decides that I'm going to run DK Metcalf because DK Metcalf can sell track and field, when really, no, DK can't sell track and field. You're selling DK Metcalf, not track and field. NBC dictated that. That's not USATF. NBC said, no, you're going to have this guy running this meet, and we're going to have this, and we're going to put this on TV. And that's it. Nobody else matters. Well, I mean, USATF just said, no, we're not doing that. We're not a sideshow for you. We're going to have the people who can really compete and do that. But they choose not to. Is Metcalf a Nike athlete? I think he's a Nike athlete, isn't he? Probably. Phil Knight probably said, no, you're going to put this guy on. They're like, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where you got to have that forum where somebody's discussing, saying, no, we're not going to allow you to use our sport as a sideshow. So that's for the athletes as well.
I don't think they trust USATF. I remember I've seen like Nick Simmons was the most notable one who did not compete, with I forgot which team he, opted out of, but he didn't compete. He made it clear, I do not trust USATF enough to work with them or anything or anyone else affiliated with them.
Mm-hmm.
Lauren Fleshman, she mentioned that she served on the USATF board. She said it was just a bunch of political backbiting.
Yeah.
Going on and backstabbing and people trying to step on people to gain power, which, I feel like that's everything and everywhere. So with Christian Taylor, that was a tall task. He and Emma Coburn, because I think he tried to reach the world instead of the United States in every part of it's just. And I don't want to be too critical because I don't, really know where to say. I applaud the effort, but it's just I think knowing what is a professional track and field athlete, and then you have these clubs. In these clubs, you can have somebody who pops off a 150, 155, and somebody who is a 203 runner, but they're kind of listed as professional athletes.
Yep.
So I do agree, with that there, kind of has to be a conversation. Okay, this is what, because it will help the athletes too.
Yes, it would. Absolutely.
Of course.
It would be very beneficial because as an athlete, you're just kind of operating on, blind faith in a sense. It would definitely help the athlete. I wanted to switch gears too about little things that they can do to help themselves. We talk about marketing. The social media and marketing aspect is something that I just don't understand, especially when there are so many people. I'm 28. I affiliate with different people who, we're good at this stuff. They're not doing it. Listen, I have a friend, T. Williams, Real Talk with T. And I keep calling it IAAF, but World Athletics, they have, used her because she's younger. She, competed for Texas Tech and Bethune-Cookman. She has all these ideas that are different, but it sells. It gets eyes open. But she is based here. What are we doing, and why aren't we taking advantage of the resources that we have to easily grow a sport? Because what you would pay me is what I would get the equivalent of a Big Mac and some fries and an apple pie at McDonald's. You don't have to pay $50 billion for an agency. It's kind of like, I always use this analogy. If you look at the 70s and 80s football players, the linemen, they had those big old Reebok cleats and everything, and it looked like they were running with Timberland boots. That's what USA Track and Field is doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt.
Go ahead, Brett. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, until they take the athletes' ideas into account, seriously take the ideas into account, not just sit there and listen in in an annual meeting and go, okay, yep, those are good ideas. Yep, are you recording that? Okay, good. But but at the end of it, nothing really comes out of it. Right. Then so that's why people get in there and they get in those meetings and they're fussing and screaming and shouting and everything. And yes, that happens at those annual meetings. From the top down, from pro all the way down to the youth. Yeah, that happens. And the fact that, well, you know what? Somebody's got to carry that load to make it happen. And unfortunately, money is the driver in a lot of things.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we're talking money, it's about money. Yes, it takes money. So in that person, nobody's gonna go, oh yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, how much? Well, we're not gonna pay you anything. That's okay. I don't need any pay.
Yeah.
Who's gonna do that?
Right. Well, Brett, you know, the other part about it is, and Dom, the other part about it is, whose voice is in the room? Is it the athlete's voice, or is it the agent's voice, or is it the other people in the lobby behind it? I mean, is it the coaches' voices? You know, the more powerful coaches' voices in the room.
Yeah.
I mean, who's in the room having a conversation? And I think that's also part of the problem is it's not the athletes in USATF, it's the athletes, it's the coaches, it's the agents, it's the shoe companies, it's all these people are in this room, and it's not the people who should be in the room. It should be the athletes and USATF, get everybody else out and make them toe the line. Except again, like you mentioned, Brett, it's about money. An agent is not going to let an athlete go in there and say, hey, don't you go advocating for taking less. You make sure you get more, you know. A coach is not going to go in there and say, hey, don't have them change the rules for me to coach you and do all these things and limit what I can do. You make sure I get to keep doing what I do, period.
Right.
If you can't do that, I'm going to be in the room and I'm going to have that conversation about it as well. So who's in the room making decisions? You look at the board of directors, it's former athletes, it's former CEOs, some current CEOs, former agents. I mean, it's the whole group, you know, who are supposed to be thinking about the betterment of track and field. Now they all still have their own, they still have their alliances and allegiance to whatever they do. And they're going to bring that voice up there and say, hey, yeah, I know what you think about it, but we don't want to have anything to do with Adidas. Now I know New Balance is coming up and Puma's grabbed a lot of people, but we're Nike. We're going to stay Nike. We're going to do it that way. And it's like, okay, that's what we're going to do. I mean, who's in the room? And that's part of the problem.
Here's the thing that in reading, you know, the whole thing about Max Siegel, what was disheartening a bit when I saw this, and I didn't realize at the time, that you know who the chairman of the board of directors is?
It's
Mike Conley.
Yes, thank you. It's Mike Conley, yes.
Mike Conley.
Yes.
Dude,
that's right, because he signed off on that letter. Yep.
Yes.
You're not just a regular old businessman. You were these people.
Yep.
Right?
Crazy.
So, and you are in the room. Why is there not enough consideration or more coming from there? Because again, somebody had to sign the check. And the statement is saying, hey, the board is extremely pleased with Max's performance, right? You know, and the success in that they feel that there's been success, you know, on and off the field. So, okay, but what is it that, and okay, so you make an argument for that, you know, you can lean on, you know, his base salary and the bonus, not so outrageous for leading this type of organization. Okay. It's the other,
yes.
That you go, wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a minute.
Was it, what constitutes that additional money?
What constitutes the other, right? And where is that coming from? Well, part of it clearly is coming from Nike. Exactly. So how much of it, who knows?
Exactly.
Maybe they don't have to disclose that part of money.
So if Nike's giving all that money, Nike's got influence.
If Nike's giving all of it or most of it, even.
Yes.
Well,
he has influence. Whoever's giving all that money has influence. That's part of the problem.
Worse, how about this? What if it's a culmination of Nike, Adidas, New Balance?
No.
Right? Mind you, so that they have some measure of influence in the room.
I can't see the rest of them. I can't see Nike agreeing there. I can see Nike and NBC. I can see Nike and NBC.
Nike and NBC makes sense. But what I'm saying, I was just thinking about how bad that would be.
But here's the thing, Brett. I think they have the other shoe companies have influence through the board of directors. Who did they used to run? Who was their sponsorship before? Who did Mike Conley have, you know, as his sponsor before? Who are some of the others who had sponsorships in the past? You know, we know people have had Brooks and Puma and some of the others, Adidas, were their sponsors when they were running. You really don't think they're not talking to them and saying, hey, we need to do this, and this?
Yeah.
I mean, some of those things are going on. I just,
you know, and it's
for the athletes, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If Mr. Shields, Coach Shields, if you're right, and you got Nike, Puma, Adidas, and New Balance in his ear and contributing to that salary, if I'm Max Siegel, I'm pissed. You got all these shoe companies and you only getting almost $4 million.
Well, you want to go the other way.
if I'm just, because you're dealing all those brands, all those egos, and I'm not listen. I Bernie Mac would say, I can't go low. I will quit. I quit today. I quit today. But I need to get paid $4 million a month. And then, with Nike is stuck, USA Track and Field is stuck with Nike too through I think 2036 or 2040.
Yes.
And they're getting 19 million or something like that a year. I'm trying to figure out where's that, where's that going to?
But here's the thing: 19 million a year. You're right. And you're like, so you say, man, that's a lot of money. But is it really for a program as large as USATF for all the things they supposedly host? Right. Not just because USATF isn't just the pros, it's youth and all these other things. So is $19 million enough to really fund a program where we know there's 600,000 kids, from age 5 to 17 participate? Is 19 million enough to make sure they have enough facilities, enough events, and officials and all the other things to do to take care of it? I don't think so. And they're beholden to them till 2036 or 2040. Think about that. That's 18 years from. I mean, who is stupid enough to make a deal that would last for that long? Who would think that? No one would think, yeah, let's do a deal that's going to last 20 some odd years. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
The college football is not even making deals that long, and
no, they would think because they know the landscape. They know the economics was like, hey, why would I lock myself into a 20-year deal? And in 5 years, if this thing grows, I'm locked in not making all the money. I could be making a whole lot more money. That's why you see college deals make bigger and bigger. What the Big Ten just signed? What is a $7 billion deal? The Big Ten Conference itself signs a $7 billion deal for their games and all their stuff on their network with Fox. I mean, think about that for
Peacock. No, it's NBC.
No, Big Ten is Fox. Big Ten is Fox.
Yeah.
The majority, I know ESPN won't have it, and I follow this because I'm an Ohio State fan still in mourning after that Michigan game. But I know they're getting $1 billion from NBC because some of their games are going to be on Peacock, and they're going to split it with Fox as well.
Yeah. So I mean, the Big Ten, a conference within the NCAA. Again, the NCAA is the big thing. A conference within the NCAA signed and cut its own deal for that kind of money for a shorter period of time, $1 billion. And USATF is getting 19 million for the next 20 years. Come on, man. Come on.
Because essentially they signed the veterans minimum.
Yeah. Look at it. That's not even veterans minimum. That's practice squad money.
Practice squad.
That's just, again, who's in the room, who deciding that type of deal? I mean, that might be, to me, that's just something I would be like, hey, Max, I'm looking at this college conference getting $7 billion for the next 7 years, 5, 6, 7 years. And we got a contract for 22 more years at 19 million. Nah. That would be me saying, you got to go. Right. That would be my reason to say you got to go.
Yeah.
It's like, because you just the financial part about it is like, not your compensation. The fact that we can't even grow the sport because you locked us into a deal for the next 20 years. Right. Get out. That was a dumb deal. Get out.
Or, maybe you don't say get out. You say, all right, listen, you got this season to make a better deal. To figure this thing out. Yeah. You need to come up with a better deal, put it in front of the board and say, all right, I went out, I kicked all the doors down, beat the bushes and everything else. Here's what I got. I got $100 million deal. Yep. You should be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
A year per year, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. No, and there's no question about it. It's a drop in the bucket. I'm serious. If
Drop
he
the
could get
bucket.
$100 million a year deal, you know, for somebody, whether it be Nike, Adidas, New Balance, you play them
Listen,
against one another. Something NBC, Peak,
but
all these
that's
streaming services out there. He can literally can't go make a deal and say, look, you want track and field, you get the best in the world. Woo, Fubo, Sling, Roku, somebody. You want a channel? We got it. You pay us X amount of dollars, you're good.
Hulu
You're
does
good.
sports.
Yep.
Who World Athletics, I think they signed with Discovery or something like that. So,
But here's
know,
the thing: it can be found.
Yes, there's money there.
Sure.
That's the thing.
Listen, I'm on the phone. I'm calling Netflix. Like, listen, here's the thing. I'm USA Track. I'm calling Netflix. Listen, I got a 200-meter dude that's about to break the world record. I have 2 iconic runners who transcends running and pop culture and just culture with Sid and a thing. I got somebody who may not make the team, but she's making headlines and she gets people going to the meets and Sha'Carri Richardson.
Right.
I have a distance community, you know, people, you know, who are, you know, Molly Seidel and all these people. Like, you have, all you got to do is just, here's my pitch. Check this out. This is what we did last year on home soil. And this is what could happen if we had you. We are about to pop off more so than we ever did. This is the perfect time to invest in that. I'm calling Netflix. I'm calling Hulu. If ESPN don't want to do it, somebody will. Bally Sports.
Here's who I'm calling. Whoever made that golf, that different golf tour, that's who I'm calling. Because what they did, what they did is flooded with a bunch of money. And they said, we're going to pay all these people all this money, you know, and what that will do, it'll make World Athletics, it will make US, it will make everybody come to the table and say, okay, hold on. If Sid says she's not going to run because she's on this tour, she's over with these people because they're paying her $70 million, we got a problem. If Sid takes Shelly Ann Fraser-Price and Sharika Jackson, she takes Femke Bowl, she takes all those people over there, and we don't have any of them, we got a problem. I mean, I think that's part of these, like, okay, we got to figure this out. And they can tell NBC, you better get rid of Lewis Johnson. That was for you, Brett.
Hey, mad love. I got mad love for Lewis Johnson.
You see, I held it together.
See, he's trying to trap you, coach. He's trying to get you.
I know he is.
Oh,
but no, seriously, that's who I'm reaching out to. But even before they do that, though, they got to decide what they want to do. And like when you first got on here, where are the athletes in all this? Who's in the room and who's making the decisions? And what is the decision they want to go forward? If somebody told me a few days, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And that's what all the athletes are. That pretty much, they're on the menu. They're not at the table. So there's like, okay, well, you know what? I got Sid. What do you want to do with her? Oh, well, we want to make sure she's on these things. Okay, well, we'll make sure she's at these meets, this meet. And some agents in there saying, yeah, Sydney's going to only do 7 meets or 5 meets, and this is the amount she's going to do, and that's it, done. You know, I want to see Sid more often. I want to see a thing more often. I think I will see even less of them, you know, going forward, because you know what? Someone's going to decide they don't want to see them. We don't want to have them run that much. You know, what was one of the biggest difference this year? Santos was running all the time, wasn't he, Brett?
Yes, he was.
Running 400s. He was running.
Yeah.
He was running all the time. Yeah. He built himself up.
He built himself up, yeah.
He built up a following, everything.
Unbeatable.
Yep. Because he was running.
Yeah.
Someone's telling all the other ones, told Rye and some of the others, like, nope, you're going to shut back. We're going to do this.
And here's the thing with somebody like Dos Santos, right? Now, he had everything to gain.
Yep.
He had everything to gain, and he probably gained even more. So he was the guy behind Carson Warholm, behind Rye Benjamin, and he's the guy who got third. Like, oh, what's that? What's that guy's name again?
Yeah.
Right. But he put himself out there by being out in front of the cameras, in front of the lights,
Yep.
and winning
Yep.
every time,
Yep.
and winning big.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Right.
And
So
competing, though.
because he
Competing.
was still, I bet you, now I don't know his particular financial situation, but I bet you he's still running for his, trying to get that big, that
Yep.
payday.
I'm with you on that one. Yep.
So he's out there. So what's the incentive for a Sid? Right? We saw Sid early. She had a couple races, and oh my gosh, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know, early on, you're not getting Noah. You might get a little sprinkle of Grant here and there, you know, because coaches are like, well, look, I ain't gonna overrun them. You know, I'm gonna save them. I don't care what the people want. You know, I'm not gonna send my athlete out there and get burned out. Exactly. You know, we got a schedule to keep, and we're trying to peak at the right times and everything, and stay healthy. So where is that balance of the people want to see you, and I have to keep my athlete healthy and on track, on their training track? Where's the balance of that, right? So that people maintain their level of interest. Well, maybe it's not necessarily the job of the is somewhat, you know, there is a responsibility on the coaches and the and agents to try and help that out.
Yeah.
But it's all the others, the up and comers, who have to fill that gap.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So the ones who are in the G League, or not, maybe not even in the G League, they're still journeymen. They're still trying to break in.
Break through, yep.
Right? They're still trying to break through. You know, this dude especially still got that NBA, you know, on that NBA journey, on that NFL journey.
Yep.
They're out there, they're training, they're training people on the side, trying to make money, and, you know, and everything. Well, those are the people who need to fill lanes 1 and 2 and 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Brett, there's a way to get around that, though. And there's a way to get around it. And we talk about other sports, you know, not every, for example, you may watch the Warriors tonight for Curry, and you'll watch the Nets the next night for KD. Well, that means you're watching a different, you know, a different star at a different time. I don't need Noah and Grant to run in the same meets every single time.
Exactly.
But I need Noah to run this weekend. I need Grant to run this weekend, and not mess up your cycle, your training cycle. But you know when you're going to run. Right. I need you there in these types of things where I got 3 or 4 of you running, you know, competing at that level. And then you're right, you fill in some other areas like that. I mean, was it Trevor Bassett? We wouldn't have known. Yeah. I mean, we watched him last year get better and better. And Dom, I think it was you mentioned. I know Brett, you mentioned too. He's like, watch out for Bassett. Watch out for Bassett. He's like, because he keeps getting better and better and better and keeps sneaking up. And he's like, that's a guy who starts with filling the lane. He gets better. He gets better. He's got a little notoriety because what he did in NCAAs and his backstory. So you go, okay, let's build this guy up as he's competing against Benjamin this week. Or now Benjamin's not competing this week. He's competing against somebody else that, you know, as a name or something to that effect. But we don't do that. We say, hey, this week Grant's going to run and Noah's going to run. Oh, it's too windy. Grant's like, nope, it's too windy. I'm not going to run. Noah says, I felt a little bit when I was warming up. I'm not going to run. What?
Too quick.
We got just the fillers. You know, it's like, and what do you say? Oh, okay, it's track. You will watch it because it's track and field. But if they don't know who these people are, they're like, no, I'm not watching that.
Well, the dumbest thing they did was have a meet in the middle of the ocean. So I don't blame Grant in Bermuda. So I don't blame him.
No, but I don't blame him either. But that's what happens when you don't schedule it properly to say, you know, okay, Grant and Jasmine that week and a couple others, and Grant said, no, I'm not running. It's like, okay, well, there's no one else in this 110 hurdles. And we were gonna, you know, this was our main event, and it's Grant, there's no one else. Now we gotta set up again. What do we do? You know, well, you can't change your narrative to go back to we're gonna focus on the 200 because that's the thing. They don't do a good job of it at the professional level to get the athletes on board on promoting the sport. That's the biggest problem. Get the athletes on board. You talk about it.
Well, it wasn't the dumbest thing, but I wouldn't have done it. But I actually, to both of your points, so I want to start with you, Coach Rob. You made a point. We're here to see, because this actually happened. And then I want to get to your point, Coach Shields. You said, okay, fine. We're going to watch the Magic play the Nets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, and this happened last night. So that's why I say it's a perfect example. KD drops 45.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know who the first video that I saw on my phone was?
Banchero.
Yeah.
Bobo.
Bobo, Ben Bobo. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Bobo. Yeah.
Yeah.
At 7:30 or whatever, how tall he is, like 7'12", doing just out there, just doing point guard like thing. So, but those videos went viral because he's Euro stepping. He's taking the ball down the court. He blocked Steph Curry's 3-point shot. He's at the free throw line, and he just extends, blocks his shot. So, yeah, KD dropped 45, but guess what? Their videos trending about the things that Bobo did, and credit to the Magic. Credit to the Magic. They did a great job of making videos of him, Fran Wagner, was it right? And Branchero. So I think that's a great, point that you made. And to your point, Coach Shields, the thing about Dos Santos that helped him was Rye and Carson were hurt. And so everybody's like, okay, Rye Carson. Well, who's next? Who's next? Well, you got this kid running 45 and running 47 consistently. So the conversation changes. Okay, well, Carson, no. Can Rye be challenged? Can Rye? Nah, Rye's okay. Well, this kid just ran what? He just ran 46.8?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like now, and so now, because I think you guys were on the show, we had a conversation. Is this the year for Dos Santos? So it flipped, and the one guy that I think, and I'll say this, then we'll wrap this up, did a fantastic job in his career was Usain Bolt. And in the peak of her career, specifically in 2012, I thought Allison Fields did a brilliant job because Usain Bolt opened his season in Kingston. All the Jamaicans were there. So let me just go ahead and get a race in that I know I can win. You didn't see Usain Bolt for 2 months. Well, guess what happened in that time period? Justin Gatlin was, running 9.7. So everybody's like, oh, Gatlin the dude. Every year, you guys know it as coaches, we talk about it. Every year, I'm trying to see who it is this year. Somebody's going to pop a 9.8. And we're going to say, oh, God, that world record going down. Like, oh, man, it's finally here. This is the guy that's going to challenge Kurt. Oh, man, that's it. Oh, my gosh, he just ran 43. I remember Michael Norman ran 43.4 in May. The next week, he's on world record watch. He ran 44.5.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
And then he was out of gas.
Yeah, he was
then
done.
he was out of gas.
He was done.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it develops. Because now we get the storyline. And then when you see, and then what Bolt used to do that I thought was genius, Bolt didn't come to America. He went over to England.
Yeah.
He went to London. He went to Belgium. He went
where the
to
money
those
was.
races,
He went
where the money was.
That's where he went.
And he would race these people in the stands. There was not one person. There was not an empty seat. I remember 2013 in London. Oh, Bolt, he's struggling this year. He doesn't look himself. Went over to London in the anniversary game and ended up on the Sports Center top 10 because he ran 9.85, hawked somebody down. And it was at the right time, and it just continued to build and build and build and build. And I think there's not a good enough job is done really with USA, just the athletes, not all, like Sid. I mean, I don't know what more she can do. I'm not even gonna lie to you because her first race was almost a world record.
But
So
here's the thing about Sid though. Sid is in a class by herself. Sid is just so good. She doesn't even have to market herself.
no.
She's not one. She doesn't have to do anything. She used to be on social media a lot. She used to be doing all that stuff. But you know, now that she's gotten married and she's really into her religion, she's kind of pulled back and been kind of subdued and just does her thing about it. Sid, we're never. I don't think we're gonna reach Sid to be out there anymore because of how she's changed her lifestyle. But a thing is a social media. That I mean, a thing is one of those people that you put out there and let her do her thing.
Absolutely.
You get her out there, like you mentioned, Sha'Carri. You get her out there and doing what she does. And then there's a lot of up and comers. TT Terry. I mean, TT Terry. To me,
Genius.
if you want to start something and build something, TT Terry. With the she looks young. She has that feature. She has a smile. She has a personality. You put TT Terry out there and say, TT Terry, we need you to run at this meeting here in America and this meeting in America. We'll go over to Europe and run and do your thing and all this stuff. And we're gonna put you out there. We're gonna put Britton Wilson out there. We're gonna put Abby Steiner out there. Like we need to put you guys out there and running at different meets, getting going. You know, we know what your shoe kind, but we're gonna do something like that. And in addition to doing that, we have those, like you mentioned, lane 1, 2, 7, and 8 fillers, and we're talking about them as well as the up and comers to do it from a professional standpoint. Because the way it is now, they, you know, it's marketed so poorly. NBC, they just do a terrible job of marketing the sport. It's just so, you know, like you said, they'll have a meet. They'll say we're gonna have a meet at 4. They have it for 1 hour, 4 races, a narrative, and we're done and we're out of here. You know, the meet was for 6 hours. We got 1. You know, and we missed all the good stuff because they put it on the streaming service, and Brett won't pay $5 to watch it. So they wait for somebody else to tell him what happened and goes on.
Yeah, I got boycott before I get it. I'm willing to miss.
But he's right though, because it hurts the sport because it's behind a paywall. And the thing about it, it wouldn't be an issue if it was behind a paywall. If you knew you were getting the stars and they market the sport more, you know, because people will pay, you know, all these streaming services. If they're gonna watch, they'll pay for the NBA app, you know. Hey, DirecTV for Sunday package, Sunday ticket. People pay big money because they want to see their NFL team wherever they are. They will pay money for it. They don't just worry about it on a local station. If I want to see my team out of town, I'm going to pay money, you know, because it's marketed properly. And that's the problem with the professional ranks. They just do a terrible job. And it's USATF, but it's also the agents and the athletes got to get back out there and say, we've got to do a better job as well. If they all agree, then we can go somewhere.
So, Coach Lewis, you know, you may just mention something I was going to touch on earlier when you know, a little bit back when we were early in the conversation, and it's, you know, Dom, you asked about, you know, who, I think the question was, all right, so who's going to lead the charge in this? You know, in the athletes. You know, as far as the athletes, you know, somebody has to step up and say, hey, we got to do something from an athlete standpoint. Something needs to be done. Well, it's not going to be, you know, and it's not to disparage anybody. It's not going to be Grant. It's not going to be Noah. It's not going to be Sydney or Sha'Carri, right? Or a thing. You want to know why? They make too much money.
Yeah.
It's not.
But that's who it has to be.
Right. That's who it should be.
Yeah, that's who it
should be. To advocating for the rest of the athletes who, you know, are not in their same financial situation. You know, now everybody can't be everybody's not going to be all the way up there at the top of the, you know, the scale. However, for someone to only make $12,000 a year and call themselves a professional athlete is absolutely absurd.
Yeah.
Every professional athlete who is, I will say, performing, and we've made this point before,
Absolutely.
performing at a certain level or above should have a minimum salary or wage compensation that they can live off of.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Right. Now, that may require them to change their circumstance a little bit, meaning now if they say, all right, the minimum, let's say, is $50,000. Well, you can't live in California with $50,000. You just can't. So you may need to you may need to relocate.
You may not be able to live here in Florida for 50 grand.
Well, if you have a roommate, you can't even live in California with a roommate making $50,000. Now you can do that in Florida.
With a roommate, yes.
Right, with a roommate, right? Which a lot of athletes do,
Yeah.
right? They have roommates and stuff. So that's possible. But, so it's still possible then to say, okay, I'm all right. I got this. I'm on that, I'm just inside the door. I made the standard. I'm getting this. I'm going to work my tail off so I can get up there, and get some of that bigger money. All right, cool. But, there's got to be some kind of scale that, people can work towards so that they are able to improve their situation. And now, the people at the top of the scale, they can advocate for stuff like that without hurting themselves.
Yeah. Because
they have to recognize their own power. It can't be one person.
Right.
Right. It can't be Colin Kaepernick. Who there can't be a Colin Kaepernick who falls on the sword for everybody else.
Yeah.
No, it has to be a collective so that then they go, oh, crap.
Yeah. You really think New Balance is going to cut Sydney?
All of our stars.
All those Adidas will cut Grant? Exactly.
All the stars are saying, you think Puma wants to cut Abby Steiner?
Exactly. No, I agree with you. Yep.
Of course not.
They advocate as a group. Yeah, as a collective. Absolutely.
They advocate as a group and say, this is what is being done is wrong. Our best athletes need to be compensated so that they can live, so we can train, so we can properly represent the United States of America track and field team.
Absolutely. I agree.
I agree.
Collective bargain. We need a collective bargain.
Collective bargain. Absolutely.
Yep.
There are definitely people, listen, I've heard we should unionize, but some athletes, there's just too much at stake that they feel, for them to do it.
But you think about it. I mean, the NBA, Major League Baseball, NFL, they all collective bargain. And you think LeBron's hurting for money? LeBron's not hurting for money. No. Is Patrick Mahomes hurting for money? And it's all collectively bargained. They're not hurting for money. But the guy at the bottom, he's living comfortably because Patrick Mahomes or LeBron James is saying, no, we're going to do this way, and they'll make sure they're taken care of as well. They're never going to be hurting for money. Nothing's going to be taken away from them to give it to the guy down below. Never. Because people want to see Sydney McLaughlin. Is she going to break 50 in the 400 hurdles? People will pay to see Sydney. They want to see if she can do it. Sydney's never going to have to worry about money. Same with the thing. Noah Lyles, Grant Holloway, they'll never have to worry about it. It's about collective bargaining for the rest of them. But again, I still say that the rest of them has to be a smaller pool. It can't just be everybody who graduates from college and says, well, this is what I want to do. I barely made the standard. I'm a professional athlete. Hold on now. We gotta have some rules and guidelines for that as well, because I just can't see USATF saying I'll agree with anything for anybody who graduates from college.
Yeah, we'll take everybody.
I'm turning pro. Yeah, it ain't for everybody.
No,
it can't be for everybody.
This is not a participation award.
Yeah, exactly. It can't be for everybody.
Gentlemen, where can they find your weekly Wednesday podcast? Tell people a little bit about that.
Coach Lewis. Oh, okay. Oh, we are Out the Blocks Out the Blocks on Facebook. So you can find us, just search on Out the Blocks on Facebook. We're on Wednesdays at 8:30 p.m. And we're going to be continuing this conversation tomorrow, Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. And hey, we look forward to seeing anybody out there who wants to just talk about track and field. Feel free to jump in, comment as we're having our discussions. We'll answer as many questions as possible, and we just want to continue to advance the sport.
Yeah, we have several coaches come on, and they're in the comment section who respond to questions as well. It's not just us. There are other coaches who are in the comments who respond. So got a good group of people who watch us every week, and a good group of coaches who watch us every week.
Good group of coaches, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the best part. A good group of coaches who watch and conversate and get involved. So if you're really looking for another show that talks about track and field, shows the love for track and field all the way through youth, all the way through professional, that's us on Wednesdays, Out the Blocks.
And if you are an athlete or a parent of an athlete who has a kid who is good enough to compete at the next level, please be sure to check out their recruiting series because it provides some great information that everybody needs to know that I can tell you is not being shared too many other places. So definitely be sure to like that page, subscribe to that page. Stay tuned on Wednesday nights at 8:30. Is it 8 p.m.? 8 p.m., right? 8 p.m. 8:30. Had it right the first time. 8:30. It's the two.
Well, Brett and I'll be on there 8:30. Coach Donna, she
8:35.
So between 8:30 and 8:35, make sure you log on to definitely check it out. Gentlemen, I appreciate you guys coming on the show as always with Lactic Acid. We have a link that has all the places where you can find this channel. We are partnered with Track Barn. Track Barn, the great guy, Carl McCongo, doing great things in the track and field community. If you're a coach or an athlete, you need equipment or gear, please be sure to visit trackbarn.com. Use the code Lactic Acid 10 to get 10% off your order. We will catch you guys next time.